In this video, I will walk you through the Renovation tab of the MSA Analyzer. The Renovation tab is where you will model your interior and exterior renovation plan if that was part of your business strategy. When you first click into the Renovation tab, similar to the Unit Mix and Proforma tabs, the first thing you will see is this performance banner. This banner will show you a description of the property. So that's the name of the property, the number of units, the year it was built, as well as the waterfall in which you would like to see the return metrics for. It also gives you a few different metrics about the property, such as the purchase price based on your current assumptions, the sale price, the closing date, the year one DSCR, the total loan proceeds, as well as the total equity raised for this particular deal. When looking at the renovation plan, it's broken up into three main sections. The first section is your exterior renovation plan. The second section, which is the interior renovation plan, is broken up into two parts. One, the first table shows you an umbrella interior renovations, and I will explain what that means in a few minutes. The second part is your unit type specific interior renovations. And as you make changes to the unit type specific renovations, the charts to the right, the post-renovation rent, will also be adjusted. The last part of this renovation tab just provides you with more insights about your renovation plan, such as the number of units that will be renovated per month, the total number of units renovated per year, as well as the cost per year based on those units that are renovated, a breakdown of the units that will be renovated, and the number that will be absorbed immediately based on the user specified amount absorbed. If you do 100%, that means as soon as those units are renovated, they immediately absorb. In the bottom two tables, this one gives you an estimation of your return on investment or the potential increase in value based on the estimated cap rate. And this cap rate takes the going in cap rate, and based on your cap rate expansion per year, which you define in the summary tab. So it takes the going in cap rate and looks at the cap rate expansion per year and slowly increase that on a yearly basis. If we see on year one, it's 5.10. The cap rate expansion per year is 10 basis points. So it goes up by 0.1 each year, all the way to year 10. And the last table, this is where you'll be able to see the percentage of units that will be down for each month based on the units that will be renovated. And this information is what gets transferred over to the Proforma tab when it comes to your unit's downtown vacancy. That information will be transferred over here. Going back to the renovations tab, let's walk through the process. The first thing you would do if you plan to model your exterior renovations, if you have an itemized list of all the exterior upgrades you plan on doing, you can go through the list and put in the different amounts. For this tutorial, I would assume that I'm going to budget one amount for all exterior upgrades. Let's say we plan to perform about $500,000 worth of CapEx, exterior CapEx. So I'll put in $500,000 for my total. Again, you can break this down into the different itemized list. The analyzer is going to notify you right now the check is giving you an error because you didn't specify a renovation period. When do you plan on renovating, on starting your renovation, and when do you plan on ending? Let's assume we plan to take about 2 years to renovate this property. We plan to start in month 3, as the first 3 months we'll be just getting acquainted with the property, and we plan to end the renovation by the end of the second year. When you put in the renovation period, the analyzer is automatically gonna evenly distribute that renovation budget over your renovation period. So that's $500,000 divided by 22. So he's going to divide that renovation budget evenly over the renovation period. It's important to note that this information on this table does not impact any of your analysis in the monthly operating statement. For now, this is for display purposes, but in subsequent versions of the analyzer, this table will serve as a draw table for your renovations. As you can see, this table has a light blue with checkered background. And if you remember from our introduction video, any data in a cell with a light blue and checkered background does not impact your analysis anywhere within the model. The second part is your interior renovation. The interior renovation, like I stated, is broken up into two parts. You have an umbrella budget for the interior unit as well as a unit type specific interior renovation plan. Let's start with the umbrella. If you plan to say add washer and dryer in 50% of the units, we can model that in. So let's assume all the units have a washer and dryer connections, and all we plan to do is add appliances to those units and charge a certain premium for those appliances. What I would do is model. Let's say each washer and dryer appliance is going to cost about $1,500, buying the appliances and installing it. And we plan to add that in 50% of the units. So I'll type in 0.50 times the number of units. We know this property is 300 units. I can either type in 300 units, or I do know that the number of units has been saved as a label. And if you just type in num, the number of units will come up. So the name ranges, if you select that, this is going to give you the total expense or how much it would cost to install 150 washer and dryer appliances at a cost of $1,500 per washer and dryer for the complete installation. Let's say this takes us about 3 years to complete this process, and we plan to start in month 6. It's nothing urgent, and our goal is to wrap this up by the end of the 3rd year. Once again, the analyzer evenly distributes that renovation budget on a monthly basis over your renovation duration plan. In this case, 31 months, so 225 divided by 31 months. And looking at the data again, similar to the exterior table, the data within this table does not impact your analysis anywhere within the model. Jump into the unit type specific renovations plan. This is where, depending on your rent survey, where your current effective rent stands, where the market rent is, you can renovate specific unit types, or you can choose to renovate all the units. Let's assume, again, this is just a very simple example. Let's assume all of these units were in classic condition, and our plan is to renovate half of all the units. An easy way to do that is just to renovate 50% of the units. So I'll select all the unit types, type in 50, press the command on my keyboard, and I'm using a Mac. You can just type 50 in all of them, but an easy way to do it is just to type 50, press command, hold, and hit enter. And so now that puts 50% of all the units I plan to renovate. For each unit type, I plan to renovate 50% of those units. And my renovation premium, again, very basic example. For this, you would have to do a deep analysis, look at the rent comps, look at your comprehensive market survey to determine how much you can get from a renovation premium. Let's assume we can get about $200 for each of the unit types at a cost. Let's say this is going to cost us about $15,000 per unit. Now, if you look at the post-renovation rent, look at this chart, you can see the bottom, the light blue, shows the effective rent. So these are the current rents, and post-renovation, we can see that we add in $200 to the different unit types. And if you look at this table, you can see the unit sizes for the different unit types. You can see the current effective rent. You can see the premium. So this is the post renovation. So these are the units. Once they're renovated, this is what we expect to collect. And the stabilized rent. The stabilized rent calculate, so that's 50% of the unit will be getting charged $1,420, and 50% of the unit we project to continue to receive $1,220. And the stabilized, comparing those two different cohorts of tenants, comes up to around $1,318. And based on the amount that we're spending, so we're spending $15,000 to get a renovation premium of $200, our return on investment or yield on cost is about 16%. And at the bottom, it shows us the number of units that will be renovated, in this case as 146. And the reason it's 146, you may ask, and not 150, is because if we have a partially renovated unit, for some of these unit types, you have odd numbers. So whenever there's like a partially renovated unit, it just rounds down instead of rounding up. The average renovation premium is about $200. And the average cost to renovate these units is about $15,000. Now we have our unit type specific renovation plan. We know our yield on cost for each of those renovations. The chart, we can see clearly how much our rent will be increasing by. And this table is that lease up table that we saw back on the rent roll tab. This lease up table that shows you the number of units that will be coming up for lease renewal by each month. And this is an important table to look when it comes to the renovation plan, because if your plan is to renovate, let's say 5 units per month, then you have to worry about a month like December 2023, where you would only have about 2 units that will be up for renewal. That is not a hard stop, but something to keep in mind, that based on your renovation plans, you want to make sure you actually have units that will become available so you can renovate those units. The last thing you want to do is kick tenants out in order to renovate a unit, because by law, you technically cannot do that if they're currently within their lease. In the renovation plan, you can state when you plan on starting the interior renovations. Let's assume the first 6 months, we get familiar with the property, and in month 6, we plan to start our renovation, and our plan is to renovate 5 units per month. If you know the MSA or the median household income for that area, you can put it in here. Let's assume it's $60,000. And using the stabilized rent as well as the median home income, the analyzer would estimate the monthly income to rent ratio. Ideally, you want it to be at least 3-to-1. So 4-to-1, that tells you that the tenants in that market will still be able to afford that stabilized average rent. The last section of the renovation plan just gives you more insight about your renovation plan. Here you can see the total number of renovations at the beginning of the month and see how that changes over time based on when you start your renovations and how many units will be renovation per month and the amount that will be left. This table is more for a summarized version of this table, which shows you all the number of units that will be renovated per year on an annual basis. So this would take 3 years to complete a renovation, and we plan to spend $525,000 in the first year, $900,000 in the second year, and $765,000 in year 3. And when it comes to absorption, in our absorption, we stated we want 100% absorption. So as soon as those units become available, well, we plan to immediately for the units to be absorbed. So this is the absorption table. So as soon as those units become available in the following month, those units become available for rented and are rented based on our analysis. In terms of the cumulative premium, so if we underwrite to capture about $200 in renovation premium per unit, this shows us the cumulative premium as we continue to renovate those units and those units are absorbed. Again, it's cumulative because in year 1, once 35 units are renovated, we start getting premiums for those 35 units. In year 2, 60 units are renovated, so now we're receiving premiums from the 60 units plus the premiums from the 35 units, and that's why you see $21,000, $150,000, $293,000, because now we have 35 units plus 60 units plus 51 units, which comes up to 146. So by 146 as stabilization, we'll be receiving about $350,000, $400 from our renovation strategy. And if you wanted to see the impact on the value of the property based on this renovation premium, you have to look at the cap rate for that particular year. Assuming cap rate is expanding by 10 basis points per year and our going in cap rate is 5%, by year 4, if the cap rate is 5.4 and we get in about $350,000, $400 from the renovations, then we can assume that the theoretical increase in our property value is around $6.5 million. The last table shows you the number of units or the percentage of units that will be down for renovation based on the current renovation plan of 5 units per month. And if we look at this percentage, so that's your percentage of down unit. And this amount, if we go back into our pro forma analysis, that is factored in our economy vacancy. So in year one, our total vacancy is a combination of our physical vacancy, so these are units that are available but are just vacant, plus our downtime vacancy due to renovation. So the total vacancy in year one in our current underwriting is 7.97. In year two, our total vacancy is 8.67. And in year three, our total vacancy is 8.42. And by year four, we assume that we've already completed all renovations and our vacancy now stabilizes at 7%. And once you have your interior, exterior renovations all modeled, you can see the total renovation plan. You also have the option to add in a percentage for the contingency budget. So this would be a percentage of the total renovation budget. You can change this to 10%. You can leave it at 20%, and it would give you, based on 10% of the total renovation budget, the contingency is about $292,000. And it's going to flow based on the most recent, when we plan to start the first renovation to when we plan to finish the last renovation, which is month 3 in this case. So in terms of our renovation, we plan to complete it over a 34-month period. And similar to the other tables at the top, the data here is for display purposes only, evenly distributed among the month based on the renovation duration. But this data is not used anywhere within the model for any additional analysis, because we assume the total renovation budget, in this case $3.2 million, will be raised prior to closing. So this is money that will be raised from your investors as part of the total equity raised. And with that, that completes the renovation tab. Similar to the other tabs, all the information about the renovation tab can be found in the MS Analytica PDF tutorial file, where you can go through that file and learn about the different properties and the different sections of the renovation tab. If you have any additional questions, please reach out to us by visiting our website at www.msanalytica.com.